At the Cajun Nationals, I'm Dave McClelland along with Steve Evans, joining an overflow crowd at State Capitol Dragway, watching as defending funny car champion Al Segrini gets ready for this round of competition. His mind's got to be on the race, but he's also got to be thinking about what happened to some of his friends in qualifying. As we watch again, John Collins in the far lane, Ed McCulloch in the near lane, driving Larry Minor's car, lost control, took a dead right-hand turn and slammed into the side of John Collins. Both cars turned over. McCulloch on top of the guardrail, then flipping onto his top, coming back across the racetrack as Collins sliding upside down. McCulloch jamming the front end of his vehicle into the guardrail, the fuel tank exploding, both drivers and cars engulfed in flames. The cars coming to a bouncing, grinding halt with the flames and the smoke cloud rising high in the air. John Collins' car with a split fuel tank. You see right at the front the raw fuel pumping out of that tank, but miraculously it never caught fire. If there was ever a testimony to the safety of drag racing and the rules requirement, it was this accident, as both drivers under their own power came out of their cars. That was in qualifying. This is round number 2 racing, and our defending champion, Al Segrini, getting set for this round of competition. He is racing a virtual unknown in the sport of funny cars, Jim Head. From the ranks of competition eliminator through alcohol dragsters, top fuel dragsters, and now the nitro-burning funny cars, Jim Head of Columbus, Ohio, is making his progression to a professional drag racer. His competition, Al Segrini, has been a professional racer for a number of years. The funny cars, fiberglass replicas of late-model American-made automobiles, utilizing those 2,500 horsepower nitro engines that we saw just a few moments ago in the top fuel dragsters. Both cars are ready. The lights turn green, and it is Jim Head off first. Head extending his lead in the middle of the course. Segrini shuts it off, and it is Jim Head advancing another round into the semifinals. A big upset. The defending champion Al Segrini going down to defeat Jim Head at over 245 miles an hour. Our next pair of cars now getting the word to start the engines. A squirt of gasoline into the injector. The electric starter motor attached to the supercharger, spinning the engine over. The nitro-burning motor coming to life. The crew checking everything over, making sure all the shutoff valves are properly in their place. The body coming down, pinned into place. And the race car is ready for the quarter-mile track. Jim White at the wheel of Dick Maritz's car from Oklahoma out of the city of Tulsa. The burnouts done by every car in championship drag racing, while spectacular for the fans, have a purpose. As Dale Faldy approaches the water and fries the tires. The reason, to get the tire temperature as hot as possible. That provides the maximum traction available. Jim White out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, driving for car owner Dick Moritz. From Granada Hills, California, comes Dale Faldy. He drives for his partner, Mike Hamby. Dale Faldy has got to be considered the favorite in this race against Jim White, but as we've seen thus far, being the favorite does not guarantee a win. Let's go to Steve.
Well, Jim Head said earlier he'd settle for one of those 590s. That is exactly what you got. What 99, I believe.
My first 5.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
And also your first semifinal in a funny car.
Yes, it is.
Did you think it would come this soon, only your second big NHRA race?
I really hoped it would. I mean, you need brakes and you need to go down the track, and we're trying to do both. But, you know, I'm definitely getting the brakes.
Back at the starting line, it's Jim White in the near lane, Dale Faldy in the far lane. This is second round of funny car racing at the Cajun Nationals. The tree goes green and both cars off the line. Jim White up in smoke. Not enough traction for the Moritz car as Dale Faldy goes through, but there may have been some problems, some ominous-looking smoke coming out of the car as Dale Faldy crosses the finish line. And for Jim White, a disappointing way to end a great day of racing for the Moritz and White team. Our next pair of cars already running. A pair of Fords, and very sleek they are. This is the car of Billy Meyer. One of the hottest funny cars on the trail today, fresh out of the wind tunnel. And Billy's car, qualifying very well at this Cajun Nationals event, is racing one of the best in the business, Kenny Bernstein, in the near lane. Bernstein, driving an 84 Ford Tempo-bodied car, also spent some time in the Ford wind tunnel. So the car of Bernstein and Billy Meyer's Mustang, two of the sleekest creations ever to grace a quarter-mile racing surface. Wind tunnel testing, one of the newest innovations in championship drag racing. Earlier, Steve took a close-up look at Meyer's Mustang.
The first thing the wind tunnel test told Billy Meyer and crew was to seal up these side windows. Where before they were either wide open or a short abbreviated window, they're now sealed with Lexan plastic. Certainly not as comfortable for Billy inside the car, but no sacrifice too great for a quicker elapsed time. The next thing they learned, the car was surrounded by turbulent air, dirty air the engineers call it. So they added around the front the aluminum lip and also down the sides. This forces the air over the car instead of under it, making for better aerodynamics. They also cleaned up and streamlined the front fender wells to force the air around the car instead of through it. At the back of the car, they really learned some things. They've long had these spoilers at the back, but you can see by the old holes here where the former spoiler was bolted, there was very little air in here. They were not getting the downforce they wanted. The wind tunnel told them, out here is where the air is. So they have re-engineered this entire spoiler, and it really works. Also have streamlined the rear fender wells as well. And the next step for the next race, Billy says, is to seal the bottom of the car, a ground effects tunnel, much like a road racer might have. Did all of this work? Well, Billy Meyer rolled out of the wind tunnel and won his very next race with a record equaling 5:73 elapsed time. You bet it works.
Billy Meyer and his Mustang, one of the hottest cars going today on the funny car circuit in championship drag racing, but he's tangling with one of the toughest, and that is Kenny Bernstein in the near lane. Both of them out of the wind tunnel, the Tempo in the near lane, the Mustang in the far lane. Let's see who gets through the air quickest, and losing traction is Bernstein, and Meyer to the finish line first. Wins the race. It is Billy Meyer advancing into the semifinals. There's the speed, 250 miles an hour, 5.94 seconds, the amount of time it takes to cover a quarter of a mile from a standing start. Here's the hometown favorites, Mark Oswald at the wheel of the #1 qualified car, Candies and Hughes. They're from Houma, Louisiana, only about 70 miles away from Baton Rouge. For Tim Gross, he's got the dubious distinction of qualifying #5. That means, in the way the pairings go, he has to run that #1 qualifier, Mark Oswald. The team of Candies and Hughes, with their latest driver, Oswald, have been racing out of South Louisiana for over 20 years. For Tim Gross, a racer that is based now in Saugus, California, one of the rising superstars in the sport of funny car racing. Tim Gross, his car, a Pontiac Trans Am-bodied creation, as is the entry of Candies and Hughes. Very sleek, very low to the ground. And as we saw in that look at Billy Meyer's car, aerodynamics beginning to play a very critical role. Both drivers stage, and it's a great race off the starting line, but the power of Candies and Hughes making the difference at the finish. It is Mark Oswald winning. A great time, 5.88 seconds, and look at the speed, 257 miles an hour. The #1 qualifier and the hometown favorite, Mark Oswald, will be racing the underdog Jim Head in the semifinals. Dale Baldy goes against Billy Meyer at the Cajun Nationals.